Hey everybody, welcome back to PunFun, where we have fun with the pun. My name is Ryan, and we're here with an exclusive guest. We're here with Daniel Brodie. Hey Daniel, how are you?
Hey, how's it going?
Great. And so he's the co-creator of Morgan's Organs. And if you haven't read them yet, it's a fun take of, well, I don't know if you guys are familiar with the Magic School Bus. One of my favorite episodes is actually when they go into Arnold and they get to, explore his body from the inside. In this case, it's more geared, kind of like Osmosis Jones. Meeting him at a convention, one of his elevator pitch was actually Inside Out, but for adults, and I was sold because it is just chock full of puns and also just cultural references all over the place. So we're going to get to that later in the video. Right now, we're going to get more into Daniel Brodie. So is that your actual name, or is this a artist alias that you use?
No, that's my real name.
Okay, there we go. And a little bit of your cultural background?
It's like pretty typical Canadian.
All right. Homegrown and local, yeah.
Homegrown, born in just north of Toronto.
Okay, cool.
I live in Guelph now.
Okay.
Went to school in Waterloo area, so stuck around, in Ontario. I just I work on comics just as a passion project / hobby.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
And when did you know that, or what is it rather that pushed you to, go beyond just a hobby and more into this, professional look? So having, your fourth book potentially coming out or will come out, I mean, that's great. I mean, it's a huge project, and we've spoken to other artists where they'll do just covers or sometimes just inking. In this case, you guys have full-blown books out. So what was your motivational, or what was that moment where you kicked it from hobby to professional?
I started, the idea for Morgan's Organs came to me in summer 2013.
Okay.
I just finished university, didn't really know exactly what I was going to do with my career or my life.
Oh, wow.
I always wanted to have a bit of a hook. I didn't just want to, work a 9 to 5. And I don't know, I just the idea really stuck to me.
Okay.
And over a couple of years, I just really put a lot of investment into writing, learning how to do screenwriting.
Okay.
Because I initially went right to okay, this is a great idea for a TV show. I'm going to be that one guy who makes it, which was very unrealistic.
Well, I mean, the path is still, it hasn't been all traveled, right? So
exactly.
Yeah. So
I thought I could jump up to the top of the mountain right away, but
oh, right. Yeah, I mean, it's sometimes it's about who you know, sometimes it's luck, and sometimes it's putting in that effort and getting people to take notice. Because I mean, the concept is amazing. The art is just fun, and I can definitely see this. If anything, I would have thought this was based off something that was already a TV show, a la maybe like a Rick and Morty type thing, and this is a product of that. So yeah, I can definitely see this being a series, if anything, on those series on that platform, for example, Netflix or even Adult Swim and so on. So yeah, very cool.
Yeah.
And yeah,
but we can talk about it a bit later. But I mean, I have over the last couple of years, I've had the opportunity to pitch to some of those networks. So
that's very
cool.
Cool.
There was a moment in the last 2 years, that I almost did reach that mountain peak.
Wow. Okay.
But yeah, going back to 2015, I at that time I realized, it's not that easy to make a TV show. I grew up on comics, and so I just kind of had the idea that maybe instead of just focusing on scripts, maybe the next best thing to do is to self-publish a comic book series. So I took that script. I read some, did some studying, trying to understand how do you convert screenplay to comic, and I partnered with Rob, the artist on the series. I was really lucky to find him. I mean, he's half the vision at this point.
Right.
The art brings the words to life, and especially in this case, the art is just such a pairing with the humor and the concept.
Absolutely. And you mentioned comic books. What would you say were your early influences?
I mean, to be honest, in the last 10 years, my comic endeavors is almost entirely this series, and through this series I've come to reappreciate more so indie books.
Okay.
I'm not as much of a superhero guy.
Okay,
but
cool.
I love I love some of the stuff that Image puts out. I try to support Kickstarters. I try to support local
Right.
talent. But like as a kid, I mean, I grew up on comics. I had bins upon bins of them. So, but I mean, most of my influence is probably just Rick and Morty is such a massive influence. Like I just love that sort of, you know, black comedy.
Yeah, the energy it puts out for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, and it just covers so many themes. You know, it goes from sad to happy.
Yeah, and there's deep there's deep themes in it too, which we didn't expect for like a cartoon, if you will.
But yeah, so I mean, I'm not saying I'm Dan Harmon, but as much as I can, I try to channel that sort of energy. And in the books, you know, it's kind of seeing humans as just like a bit of a throwaway object.
Right.
It's the insides like that are the stars of the show, and you know, they kind of embody life itself.
Okay.
So, you know, I try to get a little bit into some of those like thoughts on like what would life be like if your job was to run the life of someone else.
Okay.
Would you be selfish? Would you know, be selfless? And so the organs have to,
right,
you know, work around that sort of question every day. You know, this is a job, but it's also my life. And, you know, to what extent am I going to put myself over this greater purpose?
Right. And actually, I have a question for you. Because in the beginning, or my first reads of issue 1 and 2, it was kind of like I felt, okay, you had your body and you had yourself. So kind of like I had mentioned Osmosis Jones. Whereas here, where it kind of differentiates is the organs are their own like entities. They're not like, they don't belong to the body. So would they ever be able to be, like, is there a possibility of not being a symbiotic relationship with the host?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah. So I guess for people who haven't really heard Morgan's Organs, so like basically the comic sees the body as a bit of like an office building.
Right. So
the office building is just comprised of rooms. Those rooms are the organs itself. And so these characters are what I call Organauts.
Right.
They're the workers in the body.
Yep.
And so it opens up so much opportunity. You know, you could have the brain go and operate the butt for the day, and you know, the penis go and operate the brain, and see how chaos ensues, because, you know, these characters take their values in their current day-to-day and they apply it to a different job, and it doesn't go so well. The characters could potentially leave the body, you know, maybe
go into a new office.
Yeah, move to a new office. Maybe the brain is just fed up with how, you know, how much of a embarrassment Morgan is, and he just says, screw this, I'm leaving. I'm gonna go find somewhere else.
Exactly, especially with the, you know, the whole like we call it the wanted ads and job demands on the rise.
Exactly.
The perfect opportunity for him to quit now. Yeah.
There's a whole community of potential Organauts out there that, you know, I haven't really even got a chance to explore.
Wow.
And so I think a big thing that I do try to do with each story is just like introduce a little bit more of what the universe could be.
Right.
As much as I'm trying to create fun stories, I'm also trying to prove this could be a great TV show in a way.
Right. And that's where you kind of get more of a deeper story within the third one. That's where like I feel it started differentiating. So the story definitely matured a bit compared to the first two. Mm-hmm. So that's why the first two you kind of were in a limbo, but here it's kind of like, okay, now you understand, like it's more like in the office kind of thing, like you mentioned, where everybody has the roles, but they're not tied down to, you know, to that seat or whatever. So
yeah,
very cool.
Exactly, yeah. And like even Morgan himself, I mean, he's not really the main character. He's more of just like a vessel. So especially in like the third one, I mean, he doesn't really even do anything. He's just reliving his memories. But it's, I mean, I hope that the TV show will explore more of the human side, but you know, with comics, there's economic considerations that have to go into a story. There's page length, you know, page length influences printing, all this just compounds into, you have to create something that's viable and sustainable. And so I really only have the time to focus on the organs. And so I do very much just treat Morgan as just like a moving ship.
Okay.
And, he does stuff, it affects them, but more so they do stuff and it affects him, and usually in a really negative way. Right.
It's very event horizon, if you will. Yeah. Very, very cool. So speaking about the Organauts, so we're going to go more into your process or thought process or creative process. to come up with these personas, so they all have their own you could definitely identify yourself with somebody, or if not, you have some characters that are very zany and more quirky, if you will. So how did it come up to how did you build or create your world, which your the brain, Pene, you also had all of your characters, because even in the Fort preview, you also have I guess in this case it's the testicles, but one is this grumpy old fart, and the other one is more peppy. So are these based on people that or events that or is this like just throwing stuff onto the wall and seeing what sticks and then creating around that?
I mean, definitely, like in my first few years of development, like a very key question to define the personality was, what are these Organauts responsible for? Like, doing very basic research, like as simple as a Wikipedia, like what does a brain do? And taking those functions and turning them into values. So if a brain cares about memories, then a brain, you could extend that further and say a brain they care so much about memories that they're almost
sentimental,
sentimental, or even like they want to preserve only the good ones. And so there's almost like and that kind of leads me to the Bran the Brain character. He has a bit of like a god complex. Like he really thinks that like
he's the head of it all.
He's the head of it all, but he really thinks if he screws up even a little bit, like everything will fall apart.
Wow.
The organs won't respect him. He'll lose his leadership. Morgan's gonna end up in a dead-end job. And so like when even like a little thing happens that shouldn't be a big deal, he makes it a big deal because he just thinks he's so important, which he is.
Yeah,
absolutely. Emphasize it. In contrast, the appendix, what does an appendix do? Well, it does nothing. So I very much took that idea and made that, I made it the opposite for my appendix character. So Andy, the appendix, he's the smartest character in the body, spends all day reading, he's extremely intelligent.
Right.
Which you can see, but also because he has no, functional credibility, no one ever listens to him. So he's right every time.
Wow.
He doesn't know how to socialize that. He comes across very much as a bit too wise for his own good.
Right. Very cool. Very cool. Very deep.
So he doesn't command respect. I mean, the testicle characters, like at this point, the world is just so fleshed in my mind. Right. I just knew that I wanted these two characters to be total opposites of each other. I see one of them like a Danny DeVito. The other one is more
there you go.
I see it as like a Danny DeVito and John Oliver.
Wow.
John Oliver just so
good choices. Yeah, and they're very polar to each other for absolutely. And now that you mention it, I can maybe even hear their voice when I'll be able to pick up issue 4 and read along with it, hear Danny DeVito's iconic voice while reading the grumpiness in it. Yeah, very cool.
And like I mean, on book 4, like it's a story about sperm, and so putting yourself in a testicle shoes, like if your day is just spent jumping and every time you jump you create another sperm,
right?
Your feet hurt, you're complaining, this is boring, why does Morgan have to have sex all this time? Stop doing that other thing.
Yeah, exactly. Especially if it's not going to exist. Yeah, because now it also questions their like not purpose, but kind of like they were meant to have this army go into another building and I guess carry on their mission. But if there's things that are in their way, wink wink, then what's the point then for all of this? Which is very cool because at the same time it's very existential on their behalf, like of their own purpose and reason and why are they executing what they're doing.
And that's a big part of the 4th story. It's taking the truth, which is once you leave the body you don't come back,
right?
Taking that and making it the sort of the philosophy. So these characters, they have no idea what life is like out there, but they know that they gotta leave, and they dream of what life might be, and when they learn what it is, it's a horrifying existence for them, and they question like why do we need to and then it all comes full circle, the preciousness of life, and
Right.
and it's all told in these nothing characters who are almost throwaway. So there's different vibes like throughout the story. I'm trying to make it a bit more of an emotional one versus some of the past ones, which are a bit more Morgan's, bad things happen at Morgan's expense. This one it barely even takes place outside of the level of the sperm. There's not much of the humans or even the Organauts in this one, actually.
Okay.
And again, going back to this idea that I'm trying to prove this TV show, like I'm already kind of hints, like you could have a spin-off that just focuses on the sperm world.
Yeah, exactly. Like a whole species of like this whole kind of like a pocket universe, if you will.
Yeah, pocket universe, exactly. Yeah. And like some of this stuff is very much like Rick and Morty inspired, like that one episode with the alien world inside the car engine.
Yeah. Yeah, true. Yeah.
I just think Rick and Morty does such a fantastic job with taking relatable stories and tying it to a theme.
Right.
And so I try to take that as much as I can.
Very cool. So for those who aren't familiar yet, so we're talking about this fourth book, and of course it's not out yet. It will be out soon. It comes out, well, actually the Kickstarter for it launches on the 17th, so this Friday. And we'll have the link below, so you can click directly onto it and you can go ahead and pledge. What are some of the cool and exciting like add-ons you can get for this Kickstarter? Because I've seen the ones for the past, and guys have some real quirky stuff, or maybe just a little hint of what to expect in this Kickstarter.
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the cool things that we do for each Kickstarter is it's a collector's book sleeve. So I personally am not as much of a fan of variant covers because you get the same thing but different covers. So instead of doing that idea, I do an add-on book sleeve. It has some words by myself, signed and all, and I try to work with a different artist each time. So for this one, I'm working with Sean Daly. He's Toronto-based. He's really fantastic.
Very cool.
So yeah, like that's one of the things I do with every campaign. We're gonna have custom commissions from the artist team, so you can get a custom commission from Rob, who does extremely detailed work. Tyler, our colorist.
And would it be limited to just the? Sorry, would it be limited to just the Organauts, or would it could be any?
Yeah, anything the person wants. Whether it's someone's own design that they're interested in, or the world of the Organauts. We also have I'll show you this guy. Yeah, sure. I know you guys sometimes have like plushies and backboards. Yeah, so we did this. We have an exclusive figurine.
Wow. That's so cool. And I'm a huge collector of like statues, so I'm definitely going to pick up a Pepe for the showcase. That's so cool. It came out so well, and it's so well designed.
This is 3D printed. We did it with a local group that does like all the shows. They're called Triforge Studios.
Wow.
So they do some really cool stuff. I've done plush toys. I mean, I just try to do like a lot of just like fun merchandise.
Absolutely.
I've toned it down a bit for this fourth book. Just like printing costs are crazy right now. Shipping is a bit crazy. So I really wanted to just focus it on just the core story. But there's definitely some cool stuff that'll be in the campaign.
Very, very cool. And I know we were talking about, so this idea just popped into my head, and I was just thinking about it. So to have something as grand or grandiose, if you will, because now we're in the fourth book, and you have to subdivide, the scripts that you had, and then create new scripts. But when you said you had your writing and now you wanted to translate them into panels and into a comic, how does that process work? Is there stuff that gets left on the cutting floor? Cutting floor, or is it mishmash and edited in a way that you try to smash as much as you can? Like, I know they say less is more, but in this case, because I've seen, if you're able to read issues 1, 2, and 3, you can see that it's just chock full of details and Easter eggs. So the question one would be, how do you subdivide your script? And secondly, like all of these Easter eggs and like nods to, pop culture and other iconic comics, is this something that's added secondarily, or is this also in that script?
Yeah. So is it cool if I share my screen?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Go ahead.
So I just wanted to show just apart from my website.
Yeah, sure.
Help inform the sort of writing process. So this is just an example from my first book of, I guess, how I scripted. So it was very much screenplay style. That's
Okay.
kind of how I've kind of been, trained. I know this varies a bit from, comic book style for scripting, but
Right.
I personally found that it still works really, really well to keep it in this format. After this, I even took it a step further and just kind of put together just like high level panels, squares for the artist, just to help them understand the breakdown.
Right.
I don't try to go too deep into explaining exactly what needs to be in each panel, other than anything that's very much connected to the story.
Okay.
And then to show you, a different example, with the second book and the third book, I experimented with a format more so like this, where I actually drew out the words in the panel format.
Wow. Yep.
And then, if I click here, you can actually see like it's stuck to that same format.
Wow. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, there's just, and what's great about Morgan's Organs is that despite having so much going on, you guys do give your audience a break. So like having the two panels and then having, the grand, like giving you more of the location. And I think that it's a clever way to not only incorporate the body like in its own natural, crevices and crooks and crannies, but also, give us a better idea of like where we're situated at the moment. So if you were like on a map or on, like you said, a building, every page you kind of have that, oh, you are here now because of the way it's laid out. So very cool. I definitely love the aesthetic, and someone who's always been interested in the human anatomy, but also like the biology behind it and physiology behind it. I thought this was well made, and even if somebody who isn't into House or Grays or whatever, you can definitely get into it because it's your own body. You definitely relate to Morgan in many ways going through your college years, or just getting out of high school, for example. So yeah, definitely a cool pickup. And I, again, kudos to you for coming up with these ideas and putting it all together and having something tangible but fun to read.
No, thank you. Yeah, and I very much try to encourage people to think that this isn't just about this white male university student. Like, it could be about anybody. Yeah, this could be anyone's story. It's not just my story. So I hope in the future, that we can explore other bodies and other points of view, and the female perspective, other perspectives.
Yeah.
And I don't see myself as that person to tell those stories. So if you go to that point, we can bring on a more diverse team to tell their own stories.
Very cool. Yeah. I can definitely, that would be definitely a cool path to go down. And talking about the TV series, for example, that can also be like how you do different seasons. It's like, oh, like Morgan meets, and then you have like this other person, and it's kind of like, oh, how does this person relate? Nice. I mean, you have the ideas and you know where you're going, so
that don't even take place in Morgan's body.
There you go. Very, very cool. So we do have the Kickstarter coming up, and again, I'll put the links below for that. What I wanted to ask you is, again, it does seem like a Herculean task, but seeing that you were able to get it going, I mean, you must be very proud of your books for sure. For an aspiring artist coming in, or somebody who's been in the works and just trying to either complete a book, because sometimes it takes many years to go ahead, and get all going. What are Daniel Brodie's words of wisdom to them?
I mean, if you're going to do this, you have to be passionate about what you're talking about or drawing about.
Right.
You can't go into it expecting that you're going to hit the goal that you might have for yourself, whatever it is, getting picked up by a publisher, simply selling copies to people who like it. Like, no matter how big or how small your goal is, if you're not excited by what you're talking about, then
right.
it's not the right topic for you. So, make sure that you're excited by what you're talking about, and you intend to stick to it.
Right.
It's really to do one story and then move on to another story, but I think you'll find more success sticking to one thing for some time.
Right.
and versus trying to hopping between too many different ideas.
Very cool. Very great words of wisdom. And you mentioned that in the past 2 years there was a potential TV media. So having this be into that. So can you tell us a bit more about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So early 2020, the series was actually optioned for development by
Wow.
the producers in LA.
Okay, wow, that's crazy.
Yeah, it was
Wow,
really
very cool.
And so so from there, like it was very much like, hey Daniel, like who do you want to voice Pepe? And it's like, whoa, like
What? That wow.
you want me to just give you guys actors? They're like, yeah, just give us actors, we'll reach out. And like,
that's insane. That's surreal.
yeah, it's very surreal. It's basically what happened. I mean, I put out a name, they would reach out, and it was either yay or nay or no response. I mean, it was usually nay or no response, but there was a couple of people who actually showed interest to some decent sized names that I mean, it's not worth repeating because it didn't go anywhere, but
right.
it was cool in the moment to be like, wow, like there's people who are hearing this, that could make something happen.
That's so cool.
We were able to bring on an animation director. He's worked on Big Mouth.
Oh wow. And yeah, that'd be super fitting.
Yeah, we brought on a animation writer who worked on Rick and Morty. So like we had two.
That's crazy. Yeah, it's so well fitted for this, not only just the genre, but like if this were to roll out or will roll out, yeah, I mean they were definitely spot on with their either hiring or casting for this. Absolutely, very cool.
Yeah, and then we spent a good chunk of 7 or 8 months meeting every week, putting together a pitch. We took a good chunk of what I've done in the comics, but we also elevated it. Gave the Organauts a bit more of a higher purpose, gave Morgan a bit more characterization, things that are possible when you have a TV show when you have 30 minutes versus 40 pages.
Wow.
And yeah, we pitched. I mean, it was crazy. We talked to, again, it's just not worth using names, but we talked. If you can think of them, we talked to them. So
right.
It was cool. Wow. We got lots of laughs, good questions.
That's quite the experience just to go through, that whole, because again, like you said, once you came out, you came guns a-blazing. This is what you wanted, and now to actually, be in that surrounding environment must have been, a dream come true, regardless of it got through or not. I can only imagine your state of mind at that time.
Yeah, the experience itself was cool enough, just to say, hey, I did as much as I could.
Right.
In the moment, at least. I mean, obviously, it's not like this is dead. It's just, I have to pivot again, and I've pivoted all the time with this project. First was I'm going to become a TV show, and then it was I'm going to become a comic book, and then it was back to okay, maybe we're a TV show, and now it's okay, we're just going to keep making comics. It's cool. I mean, like it is sometimes a bit tough, especially, everything is virtual these days. It's tough to build an audience. It's tough to see that fan excitement all the time. But whenever I do the Comic Cons in Toronto, and I see like the in person, like, oh my God, this is fun. It definitely reminds me, like I'm onto something and I should keep going.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Sometimes it's great ideas, just bad timing. And I think, at some point it's just going to be inevitable to have this rolled out. And I mean, I'm a big fan of it, so I'm probably biased, myself for it. But I mean, by all means, we definitely hope and wish much success to you and to Morgan's Organs. I mean, if anything, we love the fact that we're kind of, not a footnote, but like, you're
on the ground floor.
Yeah, and then it's just so cool, having this new Kickstarter come out, and who knows, these books may be or is actually, great collectibles and great fun to read. So you definitely want to jump on that. Just before we go, we usually embarrass our guests with one last request, which is, can you provide us a pun before we go?
God.
Actually, I came. Dang. Where did I put it? It's when you needed it the most that you can't see it. I had 2 stickers that you provided, and you actually did give me a pun way back, and I remembered it. I think it was like day 1. So it was one with Bran and Pepe, and you're like, oh, what was it? two heads are always better than one. I thought that was just genius. And so if you want, you can go, you can sign off with that, because I just thought it was inevitable that this had to happen. I mean, a channel dedicated to puns and then having this book just chock full of it, it was heaven sent.
I mean, on the spot there, my brain just kind of blanked out. So, I mean, not a pun, but I mean,
yeah,
Bran has just ran away from the computers and
exactly
verified this question. I mean,
yeah, usually that's usually the case. That's why a lot of times, it's we leave it for the end. We're like, okay, we've embarrassed you enough, and we'll usually end it off there. But yeah, very cool. So thank you again for coming on. Again, the Kickstarter is coming out Friday the 14th, no 17th.
17th.
In a different month. So Friday the 17th. Again, all the details will be in the description below. If you've enjoyed this episode, we would definitely suggest you hit that like button. Also, if you're new to the channel, definitely hit that subscribe button. And yeah, definitely show your love and support. What did you enjoy? Like, if you go on the website below, so I'm going to put it down, you can actually read a few of the pages within the comic books. And I would love to hear from you in the comments below. Some of the cool stuff that you saw, some of the Easter eggs that you're able to see. Like, for example, there's one where they're going through, like, there's like a bunch of nodules and stuff going around, and there's like what seems to be like the alien eggs. And I was like, wait, is that what I think it is? And then you actually see, the egg hatchery, if you will. And I was like, dang, like that. Being such a fan of the franchise, that was a fun moment. I even got like little goosebumps right now. So yeah, you definitely want to check that out. Again, thank you again, Daniel Brodie, for coming on. Any last words before we go?
No, I mean, thanks for having me. Make sure everyone check out Kickstarter Friday. It's going to be a fun book. I guess I'll finish our tagline. You get to see what's really going on inside our insides.
Oh, there you go. All right, take it easy, guys. Peace.